Welcome in to the Gotham City Rogues podcast. I am Blockbuster of Bloodhaven fame, no longer in the Gotham City Rogues, and that is Mad Hatter, Jervis Tech. How you doing?
Yeah, these too many references.
I'm gonna keep
That
doing it
one's
though.
that one's
I'm
over
gonna
my
do it
head.
until the wheels fall off.
I can't believe they haven't already fallen off. Honestly, it's actually mind-boggling. Yes, let's do. Oh my gosh, let's
We're
do
here to
this.
talk about House of the Dragon, in case you guys didn't know about the title episode. And good God, the Game of Thrones hype, it should be back. I'm sure a lot of people fell off of this show. And to those people, I say get back on the horse because this episode was some next level family drama, cool sci-fi action, everything you could really ask for in Westeros really was featured in this episode. How do you feel about it, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like exactly what it's supposed to be. It was trying to be one of those big episodes that Game of Thrones would do you know, every half
Seven
a season or
episodes,
so.
yeah.
You would try to pull out the big gun, show off something big. This episode definitely was supposed to be that, and it was cool. It had a lot of twists and turns, a lot of decisions that you were like, because of the rep that Game of Thrones gets, you're not quite sure where it's gonna go. Like, is this person about to die? Is this person actually like they could, you could kill someone before you know it. Um, they're beholden a little bit to the story in the books and whatever, but
It's a dangerous life in Westeros, that's for sure. There was one point in this that I thought maybe even our heroine Rhaenyra was gonna eat it, and I was like, no way they have the balls to do that yet, and I was right. But let's hop right in. Way we kick off, we're in Driftmark. Everybody, all of the main cast is finally reunited under somber circumstances. Of course, it is Lena's funeral. And how do you feel about this set piece? Does it feel natural that everyone shows up for this? Does anyone feel like they got horseshoed into, or excuse me, crowbarred into it, whatever way you want to look at it?
or shoot into it. That's
Yeah,
fine.
thought about it after I said it.
Uh no, the show does what it does really well, right? It introduces everyone in a slow way. It immediately reminds you of what's happening. You see Otto's got the hand on. They don't say anything about it. They don't talk about it.
Smart.
They show it. They let you know what's going on. They
The
kind of
word
pan
was shoehorn, not to get you off your point, but that's what I was trying to say.
shoe bar you in there with the crow horn.
Anyway,
No,
yes, Otto is back as the hand of the king.
but
You
you
called it.
also like
No one's
you
surprised.
immediately realize that Damon is he's not super depressed, but he's not happy about it. They show all the stuff really easy. You could tell that Allison's just from this scene. You already know that she's just a B word.
She's steaming, dude. She is like just smoke coming out of the ears type of thing. It was crazy. Like, I don't know when she just drastically decided to get like super mad, but that's exactly what happened in this episode.
Yeah, To your question, yes, they set it up really well right off the bat. Everyone's there, but you like immediately remember all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes of this little spat.
Yeah, time jump between two episodes. I don't think there was one here. It was obviously pretty much immediately after the death. They're doing the funeral, and all the characters are still remaining the same age, so that was kind of nice. It didn't feel jarring. The Targaryen kids did mingle a little bit with the Valerian kids. Obviously, they were united in grief, but the Targaryen Jacaerys, and I forget the younger brother's name, but they're mourning the father that they kind of know is their dad, but not technically. It's a complicated situation, especially for a kid to try and handle. So introducing that bit of drama was the perfect way to like set up what happens later in this episode. But how did you feel about it?
No, that's smart, and I didn't really think about it when I was watching it. But you're right that you remind that these kids aren't just like sticking up for their honor. They're like sad that this person who, even though maybe only the older son realizes it was his
Right.
dad, but you still like he was still around all the time. You could tell in the last episode it established he was sort of the one who looked out for him, trained him, and obviously Kristen was just a dickhead to them all the time. So
God, Kristen sucks so much, dude.
but yes, yeah, you set the kids up well. Even set up kind of egg on a little bit. There's a lot of things that go well to set this episode up for the train ride the roller coaster you get to experience.
Yep. There's lots of like visual exchanges between major players. It just felt like you were watching chess a little bit. Wasn't a whole lot of actual communication. Like we had the Valyrian queen that never was cross paths with Rhaenyra once again, and they exchanged a glance, but there was nothing beyond that. There was a lot of little things like that that were clear and intentional that there's something's about to blow, and I think that was kind of a given bringing everybody back. But Viserys, one I didn't notice until a little bit later, but he's missing an arm now. He's looking real bad. He invites his brother Daemon to return to King's Landing. Does that feel natural? I mean, it does seem like he's the forgiving type to a fault, honestly.
I mean, it's definitely within his character. There's no doubt about it. His most defining trait is his sort of keep the peace mentality, his sort of just try to gel everything together mentality, which is ultimately going to be the downfall of the Targaryens. But it definitely is who he is, and it makes sense early on. It makes sense later when the spat happens. Like, it all fits who he is.
His character is played perfectly, just to a T, exactly what he should be. His character makes almost the most sense out of anyone. Most characters act within their expected I don't know actions, but he specifically, like, at every turn he does exactly what you think he's gonna do. He's predictable, dependable, and you can see why he makes a good king, but not so much a great ally within his own family. So it's kind of a weird situation.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, him and I feel like Daemon are the most consistently who they are.
Yeah.
Where Daemon's consistency is that he's inconsistent. But yeah, no, I like the king. I like what's going on there. I like all the setup stuff because it ends up paying off in this episode.
Matt Smith continues to look young, and Viserys just continues to just get older and older every episode.
He calls him right out for it, though.
Yeah, no, I did like that note. I was like, I mean, maybe the Targaryen somehow live a little bit longer. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the explanation really is, but yeah, Daemon's still looking hot, and his brother looks like just a wrinkly ball sack with one arm. That's how he's looking.
I do like the memes that are like a picture of Gollum, and it's like, this is Viserys in the next episode, and he just continues to. So those always make me
That's actually hilarious. I guess we just jump ahead a little bit. The king accidentally calls Alicent Aema on his way to bed because he's kind of going in for the night. And I just made a quick note. I'm like, well, that's never good. You never want that. Do you never mix up the girlfriend wife name?
I mean,
it's a terrible thing to do.
You do when you're the king, and you obviously. I mean, I don't think Alicent was ever under the impression
that she was his one true love or anything. That's
yeah. The king was interested in her in anything other than a little bit of comfort. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting. It shows that he's sort of slipping away a little bit, and also it shows how strained that relationship has become, and since Alicent has sort of gone full bitch mode, which she
really
has.
I mean, she's had her mind poisoned by her father, and then even in his absence, she still let his words kind of resonate with her to a fault, because it doesn't end up. It's not going to end up working out for her. There's no way it does. She's just like kind of like. It sucks that character has to be the villain, but also she makes a pretty damn good villain, I would say.
True now.
Yep. We'll jump ahead a little bit. The Valyrians, the mother and the father, they're debating what they want to do with Driftmark. And the debate is, do they want to let it be held by Daemon and Laena's oldest daughter as opposed to the second born of Rhaenyra?
Yeah, whatever his name is.
Laenor.
The gay guy.
Laenor. Yes.
Yeah, I like their interactions. I don't know
too.
if I don't really care. I didn't care about that conversation per se, because I didn't really care about where it ended up. But I liked the whole her calling him out, being like, you know what? I didn't get to sit on the throne. Can you just for 5 seconds be cool?
I think that's what I liked about it. Just one time be cool.
Just be cool for once. I love that everyone hates their husbands. Apparently,
there's not a single happy relationship in the show so far. So I guess we'll just keep moving forward and hope for the best, right? Rhaenyra walks the beach with Daemon. it was confirmed that she did try and hook up Eleanor a couple different times to try and prolong. I mean, you said that it was
Yeah,
kind of referenced before, but this was straight confirmation for me that they tried and failed to procreate a true heir to the Targaryen dynasty.
yeah, it was interesting in the whole Rhaenyra thing. I mean, again, we're not going to keep rehashing the incest debate about does that make it gross. Look, a lot of bad things happen. Murder is bad. Rape is bad. All the things that happen in the show, there's a lot of bad. All right, so we're not going to rehash the
Yeah,
incest
I think
thing.
at this point, if you
It
guys have
is
been
what it is.
watching along with us on this podcast since the beginning, we already said how weird it is. Yeah, good point. Let's just move on. They're clearly in love with each other, Damon and
Yeah,
Rhaenyra. It's like, what are you gonna do about it? I get that they're related and they probably shouldn't be, but that's not what matters in this show.
yeah, is it? And then, but it is interesting. Number one, I think it's interesting that she sort of because this takes place after her little discussion with her husband, where he sort of says he's
He's
ready to
gonna be.
step up and like be a husband, even though he can't
I was
do the one thing they need.
trying to really decide what he meant by that. Does he's just saying he's gonna be present for his
Yeah, I
kids?
think
Not,
that's
I
what.
mean, her kids really. And but he's yeah okay.
Yeah, even
In a
just like
way,
4 appearances or something, right? It helps. The dad's at least around, you know.
right,
But
he's been very. I mean, that character, he was kind of backed into a corner from the very beginning. He didn't even want to sit at any real castle. He wanted to go out and adventure the world with his boyfriend at the time, and
yeah,
that character trait hasn't changed at all.
yeah. But the whole conversation is great. It shows how like actually, I guess you'd say nice and caring Rhaenyra really is. She like actually she understands that it's not the best and that he's put her in a terrible spot, but she also understands that there's nothing he could do about it, and he's still
Right.
like a good guy and everything. And again, it sets up. Again, we'll talk about it later. It really sets up the emotional stakes for the end of the episode.
Yeah, so well. I can't wait to talk about the end, but we'll talk about some of the other stuff that happened because honestly, every bit of this episode was fantastic
Yeah,
and
but
well
yeah,
developed.
Rhaenyra and Damon on the beach.
Weird Targaryen
Obnoxiously
love
long
scenes.
love scene.
Yep, that was my
It
note.
took longer than it needed to. Who cared? It was dark. It was beachy. It was whatever. Who cares? Um, it was gonna happen. I think we kind of all saw it coming, but it was just a matter of how do they get there. Once his wife died, you started to think like, all right, now the wheels are turning. Now it can start to
It
come
definitely
together.
boded well that he didn't murder this one. That's for sure.
Did he though? Did he?
He
No, of course we know.
he
But
murdered his first wife. Yes. uh,
oh,
he,
yeah, it's the wife.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
his old wife. Yes.
She killed herself. Yeah, the love scene followed by the kid chasing the dragon down.
Right
Is
then and there, I thought that Eamon spotted the two hooking up. I knew he was going to go towards the dragon, but at first half a second, I was like, did he see that? Is he going to
I had to.
tell?
I was watching it on my phone spoiler alert. I watch while I drive at work because I'm the worst employee of all time. I'm gonna crash that van someday. How's the law work on this? Can I still get arrested for that?
Eh,
But I had to stop
he's
at park and
joking.
find like shade, and I could not tell what he saw to start. So you're saying you don't think they did? I would
No,
take your word for it.
it was Vagar. He was trying to see the dragon because he saw that like he had laid
Gotcha.
down over
Okay,
there.
that makes sense.
So he goes to check on the dragon.
God, Vagar looks cool.
Man, this Aemon kid, he's the future of the Targaryens. You can't even like really debate that. I mean, there's a lot of them, but he seems to be the one that because his older brother's like out here jerking off out of windows, getting drunk at a funeral, doing what you would expect from a teenage boy, but his younger brother is taking weird steps to make himself and his house more powerful, which
Yeah, it
I
seems like
gotta respect it.
the older brother is going to be more of the Joffrey type,
A 1000%.
the sort of just over the top. I'm the king. Let me just do ridiculous things and then get yourself killed because no one likes you. Whereas this younger brother is like a threat. Like it seems like he's gonna. And what he said at the end, right? His clever little line about it being worth
I
it.
That was one of the best lines of the episode, but we'll get to that. He jumps onto Vagar, attempts it a couple times, and Vagar looks like he's about to light him on fire, and then he says the words and ends up taking over the Black Dread. The biggest living dragon is now in the hands of
That
Alicent's bloodline.
dragon is as big as a castle, dude. That thing is
That thing is
enormous.
huge. I love it, and it looked so good. So much money, so much money for this show.
Yep, no, for sure. But that's cool stuff. And then the kids fighting scene that was I actually
That
thought they were
was
gonna
so
pull a
good.
classic Game of Thrones, where it was gonna be like, oh,
Murder.
you finally got your dragon, and now you're dead.
Yep, I
I thought they
thought
were gonna kill that kid.
I didn't know that. I didn't think they were ever gonna kill Aemon, but I felt a couple times I'm like, somebody's gonna die here, man. I don't know which one, but someone's gonna die. But he goes on the joyride with on Vagar, and it was really cool, visually stunning. The people around the castle are noticing that the dragon is flying around because he's a big ass dragon and it'd be kind of hard to miss. And everybody's kind of debating who it is, and it ends up being. I always kind of forget that Aemond is technically Rhaenyra's brother as well. He's so
Yeah.
much younger that it's weird to think about, but he's got a little bit more weight to him than he's really gotten to explore yet. But yes, the kid fight scene. He goes in, guns a blazing. Lena's older daughter said that dragon was supposed to be mine, and then she goes at him, and she hits him, and then he hits her right back. No qualms, didn't
Yeah.
pull a punch. He's just like, dude, you threw the first punch. I'm well within my rights to start beating on you. So he does. How is he so much better at fighting than any
I
of the
don't know,
other
dude.
ones?
He like just grabs and chokes that kid at one point.
That
You're
was
like,
wild.
who does this guy think he is? Fighter man? Just
Yeah.
oh my god, dude. Looking like WWE out there, just choke slamming people.
It
hard.
did, yeah. It was wild that it was like a 4v1 fight, and Eamon was like doing the work. Yeah, he's talking very loud. He seemed like just some anger behind everything he was saying. He was repeating things adults had said to him. He's like, "I'm gonna feed you to my dragon."
He wanted to kill those kids.
He's a little
He
demon.
definitely did.
He's like a Damian Wayne. That's my comp. That's how he feels.
I don't know, but I feel like this kid. I think this kid's like legitimately an evil character.
Oh, he
I think
is.
gonna, like,
Yeah, he's definitely not gonna be all sunshines and rainbows. That's for sure. He's gonna end up being quite a big player later on.
Well, he's gonna have to do it with one eye. So
Yes, he has to do it with one eye because Jace jumps in to fight Aemond, and
I like Jace.
I like Jace a lot too. I'm looking forward to him.
I like that
growing
his
up.
name is Jace too, because then I can
Well,
remember.
it's just
that
Sarah's, but they call
I know,
him Jace.
but
I forget the younger kid's name. I've already
That's
forgot
what
it.
I don't care.
But yeah, he saw that his brother's about to get murdered. Though they do a classic brother team up, which as with the guy with brothers, I'm like, hey, that was cool, nice teamwork there. Like the
Yeah.
Hardy Boys out there. Throws his hand in the face, and then he takes the knife and just.
It's the end of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie where they finally learn to work together, which really
Yep.
just means going one at a time. Still,
Yep.
God, those movies all just the worst.
Every one of them. But yeah, he gets his face sliced and pops an eyeball, which is not what you want with your eyes.
I love that none of the kids cry. They scream in anger, but none of them
Yeah.
are like, this hurts, and they cry. They never.
They definitely
Dude,
should have been
They
crying.
would have
Every
been on the
single one
ground
of them.
bawling that their eye was cut out. It hurt so bad.
Yeah, I don't think he would have the wherewithal to pitch his line later on. But hey, what do I know? I was like, clutch. Great. Viserys missing an arm. All the parents are bickering back in the Great Hall. Makes a lot of sense. And
Great scene.
yeah, so good because everybody's there trying to
Just
figure
like
out.
one
piece
parent
together.
after another keeps like showing up,
And we're like, what the fuck is happening here?
and just it's so good. And the king just is useless.
Well,
As
he
always.
ends up like pulling whatever weight or power he can pull within his voice and calls his son as like, "Who told you that her kids are a bastard?" And then he blames the older brother. God, that's such a fucking little brother move.
That's just such a shithead. And I loved Aegon's
Blaming-
reaction. Me? Oh, go fuck yourself, kid. I fucking stabbed
Yeah.
you.
Oh my god, that was so dumb. He could have blamed it on literally anyone. He'd be
No,
like, "Ah,
you
man,
gotta
yeah,
blame
the,
your older brother.
the house wench. She told me it was a rumor going around the keep." And it's like, yeah, that could have saved your brother getting in trouble, but nope. Don't think about that. Only cover your own ass.
Little shithead. What a shit. And the older brother just being like, oh, you
I love how
fucking-
Aegon though, like he, for annoying and scrawny as he is, he knows that he's kind of a big deal, so he can throw his weight around a little bit. And he's like, we can all see. He calls it out finally. He's like, "Who told you these rumors?" And he's like, "We all have eyes." Essentially,
okay. Give me a break here.
those kids clearly aren't half black. They also have dark hair, which makes zero sense. Yeah, he called it out, and the king is left to just. He's like, you know what? Be nice to each other.
Yeah,
Has to go to bed.
classic.
And we're like, that's never gonna work out.
And then Alicent's being
She's
she's very reminiscent of the Game of Thrones season 1 with the
Yeah.
dire wolves and Robert, throwing around weight that she doesn't really have.
Yep.
But Kristen Kolster thinks she does. That fucking dick. I
Oh
thought
my
he was dead.
god.
I
I
actually
thought
thought
he
that
was.
was about to
Yeah,
happen.
there was a good chance that the Kingsguard were all gonna murder that guy because Allison thought that she could be like, ignore the king and listen to me. Like you're the protector. You're not your hitman type of thing. Where no one supersedes the king no matter what.
Yeah, but he sure thought so. He
Uh,
was.
well, what he thinks doesn't matter. What he was deciding to do is what actually happened.
Yeah. So, but I mean, yeah. Then she does. She pulls the knife. Rhaenyra catches it like a badass.
Yeah, that was
Ooh,
great. That face off scene where they're just sitting there holding each other's arms and the knife is kind of in her face and she calls out Allison. She's like, "How does it feel to finally expose who you truly are?" I'm like, "Nice line." Shout out Pizza Kid in the comments. What's good? This is good. The show is good. This episode
yeah.
was the best.
Yeah, House Dragons is good. But then after she cuts Rhaenyra and the king just still does nothing, you're like, that seems unrealistic. Seems like she would have just like got stabbed right then.
Yeah. Well, big oof. Allison wants an eye for an eye, which was never going to happen. The king says, "Fuck you." Allison fully loses it. Standoff showing of sides, and yeah, that's kind of how it goes. What
I love the pizza
what else
stuff.
did you want to say about that?
I just kind
Scene.
of like. Well, I really like the I like the way. I'm very distracted. This it's kind of you're very
Yep, it's
popular on
fine.
Star
We're
Wars
good.
stuff.
There we go.
Love the pizza stuff. Uh, I like the setup because it, as you noticed, what's his Laniers Layman? I can't.
Lenor, the father. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I wish he just had a real name. Let's call him Lenny. My boy Lenny Bruce. There,
Bruce
he's
is a
not
famous
there,
comedian. Anyway.
and it sets up the next scene where he shows up. And my favorite line of the show is the next scene where he shows up and he's like, "Oh, I should have been there." She goes, "That should just be our family motto."
our house words. Yes, that was very funny.
Brutal. So good.
I did make a note of it right before that conversation that there's the standoff between like everybody, and you could kind of see where the line was divided in the upcoming war. I wanted to.
Oh
point
yeah,
that
yeah,
out.
yeah. You're
It
right.
was very clearly established who was going to be on what side.
Well, that's why they said the things about the dragon and Otto kind of says it's a big deal later. They're definitely, we keep saying it. They're setting up for the Dragon Wars, man. It's gonna be.
It's
Talk
the
about
only way
Armor
to go.
Wars and Marvel earlier today. The Dragon Wars is so much more interesting.
That is true. We got Allison and her father talk, and Allison kind of just is like, "You're gonna tell me all the things I already know. This, and he's like, "All true, but also proud of you." Like, okay, Otto.
He still sucks. I mean,
He
it
sticks
does
up for those
confirm.
shithead grandkids quite a lot.
It does like fully confirm that he was definitely there to play the power and to try to get to the top. Like,
Yep.
he wasn't doing it subtly. He didn't do things out of any sense of honor. He was always there to try to win the Game of Thrones. So it confirms that, which is kind of nice. But for the most part, I don't like them. I don't care for them that much. But that'll make an interesting little dividing line for once they're really clinging to their sons. Really, the two boys are the only thing that's gonna.
Yeah, the way you talked about, I mean, obviously Laenor and Rhaenyra have their final talk about their sons and stuff. Laenor says he's going to give it a go in a marriage, like we already talked about. But then jump ahead just a little bit. Rhaenyra's having a conversation with Daemon on part of the castle overlooking the sea, and most of the other families and such were going back home. And there's a lot of good lines on this one, but I wrote this one down. She put, "Fire is a prison and the sea offers an escape," and I was like, that's pretty good because they feel like they're kind of condensed to only depending on their dragons to be any sort of power. But the Valerians, she thinks they might have made the right choice because the sea is a much easier ally, I guess. And I just kind of liked that whole conversation there. And then
it's very Game of Thrones conversation.
What eventually happens is Rhaenyra pitches the idea of marrying Daemon, and Daemon hits back with, "Well, then you have to kill your husband." And she says, "Yes, I know."
This is so good.
Was there any part of you that thought she was straight up actually okay with murdering him?
Absolutely, there is, and that's what's so good about the whole show.
I kind of bought it
because it sets up that she does. Because, like I said earlier in the episode, she does the whole like, "You're a good man, you have honor, we appreciate that." And then this conversation starts happening, and they're talking about it as it's showing the scene. The conversation's continuing as sort of the background. And they're talking about it and they're explaining like, it's a big deal and this is how people are going to perceive it. And and this and that, and it sort of shows Damon going and talking to someone about a murder in a public space and stuff like this. I sort of, when he said that stuff, I was kind of like, you're making it very public on purpose. I was like, would this guy really be willing to kill him? Probably not. That
I
doesn't make
thought the
sense.
same thing because he said make sure there's witnesses. I'm like, so you can get caught and thrown in prison for the rest of your life? How are you going to escape if there's witnesses? But the way the scene went was fantastic. I have no complaints. When I did see the dead body in the fire pit after the cool sword fight, I was like, this is the second time that a Valyrian has died by, fire, which they're supposed to be fireproof. So I finally came to the conclusion, I'm like, it's only Targaryens. You have to have the last name Targaryen. It's the only way you're fireproof, because Jon Snow got burnt in season 2 of the Game of Thrones.
Well, apparently, there's only been one so far that we know of that is actually fireproof.
Right, it's
so.
Laena. Yeah, Laena got lit on fire by her own dragon, so I don't know. Some weird thing.
So far, only
Yep,
only the
but
mother of dragons is actually
interesting
fireproof.
that Daemon chose to have Sir Quarrel be the one to attack him, who is Laena's boyfriend.
Yeah, that to me that was like the one thing that was sort of the giveaway that it wasn't going to happen. But
He
I
offered
bet a
him
lot of
money
people,
and station, though. I mean, there's definitely a part of you that could be like, well, maybe he's through being the plaything set to the side for a fake marriage and all this fronting for the courts.
but it was good. The reveal is good. The reveal of it being, because they're like you said, they're talking about it, how big of a deal it is, and this is going to be their last kid, and this, and people are going to perceive it as you did something bad, but they won't ever know. And then, of course, you see the reveal at the end that he takes his head off, and he was still.
Yep,
It
shaved
was a
his
decoy
hair
body.
off, which he kind of had to do, and yeah, decoy body, which now makes sense why Daemon did kill that guard. I was like, why did Daemon show up at all? And it's because they used that body to throw
And
in the
you
fire
a
pit.
body, yep. So it's so good, so good. But
Fantastic, so fucking good. This show is. Can't even stand it. Daemon and Rhaenyra do get married, and it's kind of a weird Viking-esque wedding. That's how I felt about it, where they cut their lips
a lot
open
of blood
and stuff.
crossing.
Yeah,
It can't be healthy.
No, but I mean it's the same blood, so whatever. I guess do your thing, but you could still definitely get AIDS. So, all right. Well, that kind of concludes the episode, and like I said, this is one of the best shows to come out in television just in recent history. In the last at least 5 years, is out of episodes that I've enjoyed on TV shows. This is really up there.
Oh yeah, this is probably ranks in the top 10 somewhere of the Game of Thrones whole pantheon for sure.
Yep.
There's a lot of great episodes of Game of Thrones, but
that is true.
This is a really cool episode. It's a really fun show. It's a fun show because it's a little different than Game of Thrones because it does everything at an accelerated pace, but it's setting stuff up. It's setting up cool stuff. I think now that they're married, there's like they said, it's supposed to be a tying of this bloodline to sort of stop the arguing a little bit. It's setting the war up between Alicent and her kids and their dragons, and then Daemon and their kids' dragons. King's not going to be around much longer. Oh, it's just so good.
Yep, we're building up to the wars, like you said, and I couldn't be more excited. This show's really amping up even more, and the politics are very much alive of Game of Thrones, and the action sequences are there too. So thank you guys for listening once again. We appreciate you. Go check out the Marvel Stuff podcast, and
yeah, absolutely.